So Deborah is an award-winning filmmaker, advertising agency executive, 2016 Film Independent Lab Fellow, and one of Variety Magazine's 2016 top 10 documakers to watch. Her documentary, Olympic Pride, American Prejudice, the untold story of 18 African Americans who defied Hitler and Jim Crow to compete in the 1936 Berlin Summer Olympics, was nominated for the 2017 NAACP Image Awards, and the book she authored by the same title was recently published in 2020. Her next project I'm excited to talk to her about is Coffee Will Make You Black, the screenplay adaptation written by Deborah of April Sinclair's seminal novel about an African-American girl growing up in 1960s Chicago. It's being produced by Octavia Spencer, and Deborah's going to direct the film as well. Before filmmaking, Deborah was an advertising exec who stewarded multi-million-dollar campaigns for over 14 years, including Lamborghini, Coca-Cola, Exxon, AT&T, and Adidas. And here she is talking to us today.
Yes, hi.
Hello. This is
Hello.
so fun. Okay, well, I could ask you a million things, but I think I really, just because of our shared Southern roots,
Yes.
I want to talk to you about your upbringing in the South and storytelling and how that influenced you.
Absolutely. Southern lore, right? We're just filled with great, amazing storytellers. I grew up in Savannah, Georgia, and every single person in my family was an amazing storyteller. You name a subject, they had a story for it. My mom was a public school teacher, and in the classroom, she used stories a lot to kind of really ground and underpin her lesson plan. And every aunt, and especially my uncles, could really spin a tale at the family reunion and at Christmas. And this love of listening to them tell these amazing stories about their journeys in their own voice, from their own lived experience, with their own perspective, not whitewashed in any way, but completely as they lived it, as they experienced it, and as they wanted to tell it. That impacted me, and it became really important to understand what happens when voices are marginalized or mitigated or censored or required to be policed in terms of form or tradition. So I think all of that contributed to me wanting to tell stories the way I want to tell them, about the people and places and things that I find interesting, but that are universally interesting.
So you started out in the advertising world, from what I understand. Probably had some other things happen before there, but before filmmaking, there was advertising.
Yes.
I'm so curious. I mean, how did you really take that leap of faith? What were the tools that you needed to go from these incredible campaigns to, okay, I'm going to tell my own story?
My mother died from cancer. And that was the reason why I decided that I didn't want to tell brand stories any longer.
Yeah.
I wanted to tell these human stories, and I wanted to tell the stories from my own perspective, not through a brand style guide. And in the advertising world, there's a creative brief, and there are creative directors, and an idea is morphed and changed a lot from the time the idea is generated to the time it hits the commercial world. And I wanted to find a place where I can steward the type of stories that I wanted to tell, and particularly about Black people, and particularly about the dismissed, intentionally or unintentionally dismissed pieces of history that are integral to the fabric of America and to the world that we don't hear about. And my mom passing away really crystallized that for me.
But how did you grab that inner strength? Like, I just imagine that there wasn't someone like holding the door open for you and saying, right this way, please come through and tell us.
I'm telling you, the strength came from knowing my mother's history and knowing what it was like to have to fight to go to college and go to graduate school and be an educator. And at a time when Black teachers were not valued, at a time when Black teachers were not regarded as equal, and when their opportunities were not equal. So that strength to to really double down and be an exceptional educator in spite of all those odds. I knew I could be a filmmaker in spite of all those odds, because whatever she went through was far worse than anything I could possibly have to go through, because she had already given me this archived body of knowledge to be persistent, to be strong, to be confident in ways that she probably could not when she was my age. So all of that was already in the DNA.
I love that.
That was already in the bloodline. That was already an ancestral and cultural inheritance that I got from her, and
Yeah.
it came on when she was gone, and that's like an angel that guides me. So that was all I needed, and I was like, I'm ready to tackle this. I decided that the first film that I would do would be Versailles 73, a story about amazingly smart and beautiful African American models who ushered in American pret-a-porter in 1973. And that's something, my mom and I both love fashion and beauty and shopping, and who doesn't love a story about New York and Paris and beautiful Black women? So that became the very first story that I chose to tell. And I remember calling designer Stephen Burrows on the phone, and I said, I'd love to tell this documentary about the great fashion show in Paris in 1973, Versailles. And he said, okay. And I can be in New York in 2 weeks to interview you for the documentary. He said, okay. Let me connect you with Robert. He said, lots of people have called me wanting to tell this story, but no one has ever done it, actually.
Really? Wow.
Exactly. So I said, okay, I'll be there in 2 weeks. And at that point, when I hung up the phone, we got in the date. I didn't have a camera. I didn't have a crew. I didn't even have a ticket to New York. So I was like, but I was on my way. And the rest is really, assembling a team and a crew that was willing to ride with me and go to New York and eventually go to Paris and create this film.
I love that. I do remember I was reading some other interviews with you about how you didn't have anything lined up and you just went and did it. And that's why I really wanted to like drill down, because this whole summit is about women connecting to their inner power and knowing that, like what you said, I'm
Zero.
sorry.
I said, I had never gone to film school.
Right. That's what I want. Neither did I. I've also never I went to law school. Like here I am making movies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but obviously I knew my way around a set because I'd worked on, a couple hundred campaigns. So,
Right.
so I was familiar with the aspects of storytelling, the aspects in short form for sure. But I knew in that instance I could tell that story. And I grabbed a friend who was a great DP, and off we went. And it was like putting on a glove that fit perfectly. I understood what I needed to do. And part of that was telling myself, I am a filmmaker. And that is what I said to Stephen Burrows. It was the first time I actually said it out loud. I said, I'm a filmmaker from Atlanta. And there it was.
So I really wanted to talk to you about that too, because as I just shared with you, I'm based outside of Tel Aviv, and I sometimes get this like imposter syndrome feeling, like everything's happening over there. But I don't know. I want to hear how you feel about that. I mean, Atlanta has a pretty
But
strong.
over there, where?
Exactly. I know.
Where?
Well, like Hollywood, everything's happening Hollywood or New York or.
Well, tell that to Craig Brewer when he from Memphis, Hustle and Flow, right?
Yeah.
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 Over
Yeah.
there is where you are.
Yeah.
So wherever you sit, wherever you stand, wherever you conceive of the idea is where it is. So
Yeah.
I am from Savannah, Georgia, and I live in Atlanta, and I am a filmmaker.
Yeah.
And so are you, Paula. Whether you're outside of Tel Aviv or outside of Atlanta or outside of Charlotte,
Yeah.
wherever you are,
Right.
you bring your talents. Don't leave you if you're not in a specific place. Your talent is not geo-targeted. Your talent
I love that.
in your
I love
body.
it.
So if you plant your body in LA, your talent's there. If you plant your body in Tel Aviv, your talent came with you. You didn't leave it. You didn't leave it in North America. It was on the
Yeah.
plane with you. So that's
Thank
what,
you.
of course, that's what I remember.
Yeah.
That we sometimes we put these weird parameters on ourselves, and we have, I don't even understand what imposter syndrome is. That does not exist. That is a construct we do not have to accept.
Right.
You know, that is not
Yeah.
a construct that you have to buy into. You are what you work hard for and what you're willing to sacrifice for and what you're willing to study and become great at and really own that craft. So when you put that time in, 10,000 hours, 20,000 hours, however many hours, you are earning the right to never have to accept imposter syndrome as long as you're willing to work for it, work
Right.
hard for it, commit to it, and be about it.
I love that.
Yeah, you may not, it's not that you're an imposter, you may be early in your experience in that particular career, or
Mhm.
maybe at the beginning of your journey, but that doesn't mean your journey is an imposter. It means you're early, you're at the first beginning stages, you're crawling before you walk, before you run, but that still means you're moving. And as long as you're moving forward, there's nothing about that that's an imposter.
Right. Oh, thank you. That really touches me when I needed to hear that today.
No, it's real. It's real. And we have to own that sometimes at the beginning we're just not that good. You know? We're gonna make mistakes. That doesn't make
Yeah.
us an imposter. That makes
Right.
us a student. That makes us someone who's learning and improving and getting better and better and better.
Thank you. That's good. That's
You're welcome.
good. Um, One of the things you wrote to me, what that I love is you spoke about taking, and this is really connected. I think what I just asked you is connected, is the courage it takes to be creative and to make a livelihood out of this, especially in a historically white male space. I'd
Yeah.
love to hear your thoughts on that.
You know, gosh, we are operating, Paula, in a historically white male space. It's true. And we're going to have to fight our way through to not only make content that demonstrates that this space should not be exclusive to any one
Right.
type of human being, but also to use that opportunity while we're fighting to tell the stories that also chip away at the notion that the space should be exclusive, right? So we have a weird type of, not weird, but a dual role in our very existence, because I think of my very presence here in this moment on Zoom and always as the intersectionality of my race and my gender, as well as being Southern, right? Because I grew up
Mhm.
in the South, so I'm a Southern Black woman who wants to make films. So that's interesting in itself. So,
Right.
but what we have to remember is, wow, what a new and different perspective to bring behind the lens.
Yeah.
So how we change stories and our diversity of stories, it's the future of storytelling to not have to be, not have to be, and not have to listen to one type of story told from one perspective, because creativity shouldn't be marginalized. Creativity should be celebrated because of its diversity, because of all of the interesting perspectives that fold into it to make it something. So that's how I think about that. And I'm hoping the more we all, Paula, you, I, and everyone, all the creators, the more we demonstrate that we're open to listening and we're open to receiving other perspectives, will serve as an example for other people to model, right? We're
Yeah.
making different content, we're watching different content, we're open to exploring and listening to different content creators, and then that becomes behavior that other people can model. So if we're not open and we're not opening the doors and we're not standing tall and we're not talking about it, then we can't really expect others to do it. We have to lead by example.
I think it's so, all these themes are connected because it's amazing. Today I was listening to a podcast with Eddie Egger. She's the Holocaust survivor psychologist. She was speaking with Brene Brown, and she was talking about how she tried for so long to get rid of her accent and become American, especially following the horrors of the Holocaust. And then she said, but that's not who I am, and that wouldn't be authentic. And I don't know, that struck me as you just said this about, that's what makes you you. Those are the stories that you're telling. I can't tell you how many times I've tried to like iron out my own Southern drawl. I mean, so, but it's true. It's really
Too time consuming.
too time consuming. There's too much out there. I
Yeah.
read something beautiful that you wrote or said about how it's so important to, when you're achieving success or moving up the ladder, that you want to make sure you've got the door open and bringing people in with you.
Oh boy, I'm so fortunate that I have a laundry list of great people who have given me a good word,
Mm,
support,
yeah.
encouragement, opened the door, created an opportunity, just pulled me along with them. Even if it wasn't a job, just to sit and watch, right? To watch them be at the table, or watch them be behind the camera, or watch them accept an award. All of these little opportunities really contribute to the making of who I am as a filmmaker. So that's why, all of my films, I've had interns on them. I've hired people who've never done the job that they were hired to do ever before, but they've had transferable skills that make sense, that they can
Yeah.
actually do this job if you tell them the context in which they need to apply these skills. So I'm really proud. On my short Illegal Rose, I was so thrilled to look around the set and see over 50% women, people
Wow.
of color, interns from historically Black colleges and universities. And it felt good. And in my small set, just my own, I was capable of making a decision to make sure that the first AD was a woman, the second AC was a woman, the scripty was a woman, craft services was a woman.
Yeah.
You could just go down the line and see all of these great women behind the camera. Like I said, first ADing, second ADing as well. It was just great to know that I impacted these women in a positive way, and that the cast and the crew, if they weren't a woman, or if they weren't of color, they had to work with women and people of color.
Right.
Like it or not, if you don't go, you can,
Right.
you don't have to stay.
Right.
And and it was a harmonious, beautiful set with women running things, women of color running things,
Yeah.
in a mixed bag. We had over 5 different nationalities, represented, people who were born in Asia, people who were born in Mexico. So all of us came together, bringing our very best selves to this set.
I love that.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about this new project. I read just a little bit about it. I also found it really inspiring that you wrote the script of this. I mean, oh my goodness. Like, just tell me everything. Like, how did this come to you? What made you think I'm going to write this? Like, why this story? Just anything you want to tell us about it.
I read the book a long time ago. I mean, maybe 18 years ago. Just a very long time ago. It was one of my favorite books. And growing up, I just read a lot. My mom was a
Yeah.
language arts teacher, and we had like everything was a book, right? So I just had tremendous exposure to books of all types. And I stumbled across this book and I fell in love with it. And I love Stevie. She's a smart and 4.0 precocious Black girl. And I like her already. And she's coming of age against the backdrop of the civil rights movement, which is a particularly interesting time for a young woman to come of age. Coming of age and being a teenager has its, own set of issues for all young girls.
Right. Right.
And now you drop behind that America changing, kind of like 2020, America
I was just,
changing
yeah,
right
totally.
in front of you and behind you, when you're
Right.
kind of thinking about boys and clothes, and you're forced to think of not just those things that affect you, like what classes am I going to take next semester? You're forced to think about the world.
Yeah.
And is that fair? and what's
Right.
the impact, and how do you do it, and how do you choose who you're going to be when you haven't figured out who you are yet. That's what attracted me to the story. And I think just pure audacity that I was going to write, I was going to option it and write the script, because the character, the mother and daughter, reminded me of me and my mom. And so that mother-daughter relationship was rather important to me. And so I told the producers, I'm going to do it. And they said, "You are?" I said, "I am." And then I did, and they loved the script. Thank God.
Thank God. How long did it take you? I mean, I'm really asking you the nitty gritty. I'm so
two and a,
curious.
2.5 years
2.5 years. And
to get
did you take a
exactly.
course? Did you say like, how do I work this software? Like,
No, I taught myself how to use Final Draft, but
right,
along the way, I have always taken courses
right.
in screenwriting and read books. But I'm always, this summer I enrolled in a advanced screenwriting course,
Yeah.
and the fall before that. So I,
Yeah.
I'm always enrolled in some workshop, webinar, class to hone my skills as a writer
See,
and and as a director.
I'm really glad I asked you that, because I think that's like pulling back the veil a little bit too. Like, it's not like everyone's just pre-made, and baked. Like,
Yeah,
it's a constant learning process.
there's no such thing. I think. I mean, there might be. For me, I like to learn, and I am constantly enrolling in every kind of lab that I can
Love
potentially
it.
get in. Class. Did someone say someone's teaching something online? And because you get, so instruction is important, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know.
It's essential. Well, I mean, I could talk to you for hours. I promised myself I would wrap now, but I guess I am asking this question to folks because I think people really care. What are you taking away from this pandemic? What have you learned from it? What is it giving you? Or maybe not. I mean, it's okay to say nothing too.
It's given me a lot. Um, my book came out February 9th, 2020. And I was getting ready to go on my book tour with Simon and Schuster, my first book. And by the way, that book just got nominated 3 weeks ago for another NAACP Image Award.
Oh,
Yeah,
congrats.
yeah,
Amazing.
thank you. But February 9th, the book came out. The only place I was able to go to 30 Rock and interview on NBC4, and I did a promotion in Miami and one in Newark, New Jersey with NJPAC. And then that was March 9th, that event. And then on March 10th, I did my interview with NBC4. March 11th, I flew home to Atlanta, and then it shut down. So I've not been able to do the type of book promotion that I dreamed of. I would be in all the Barnes and Nobles, and I'd book, and people would be in line, and I'd be taking pictures, and it was going to be great. And I would do the
Yeah.
independent bookstores, and oh, this was going to be zero, right?
Mm,
So I was heartbroken,
yeah.
and um, and I was like, "Are you just going to wallow in your own despair? Or are you going to be better than that?" And then I was like, "No, I'm going to wallow in my own despair for at least a few weeks." So I did.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I started doing some online book readings, and then I took the book and developed a course with the Department of Psychology at Morehouse College
Mm,
last summer, called Black Bodies in the Public Eye. And it was a mini course open to the students at Morehouse College as well as the community worldwide. So that was my way of using this book that I couldn't go on a book tour with to create a course curriculum, right? To talk about Black bodies in the public eye. I did some readings, and then I shot 2 documentaries.
no big deal.
Yeah. So
Wow.
yeah. So,
Wow.
but I had to talk to myself about this,
Yeah.
and because I really just wanted to eat ice cream in my pajamas, which is perfectly fine.
Totally okay. Very acceptable, I think.
Yeah, and I did, but I also wanted to remain creative, and I wanted to find creative ways to use Zoom and creative ways to use the technology and create stories, because it's a challenge as a content creator. That's how I looked at it. How can I create a story now? Like,
Yeah.
or what am I going to do? So I was writing, and just really, I took, like I said, 2 classes as well. I stayed busy, and I wanted to be busy. And I think for me, everyone has a different way of managing and dealing with something you've never ever encountered before.
Right.
So,
Right.
so I think every way that you manage it, um, as long as it's not self-destructive, is a good way to manage it. And if you find yourself doing something that is self-destructive, seek help for it, right?
Yeah.
You know? So
Yeah.
because we don't know how to deal with a pandemic.
Right.
There's no
Right.
there's no there's no syllabus for that. There's
Totally.
not a there's not a
Totally.
you can't download an app that tells you how to carry on in your daily life during a pandemic.
Totally.
A pandemic, an election cycle, all, the most intense in my lifetime, intense demonstration of civil unrest for equality and against police brutality that I had ever seen in my life. And I was stoked by that energy, right?
Yeah.
So and
Yeah.
so I'm like, people are making decisions to do and fight for other people. And I thought, huh, okay, well, I want to contribute. I want to be a part. What can I do? And I'm a writer and I'm a director, so that's what I do.
I
You
love
know,
it. Yeah.
at 24 frames per second, I can say a lot.
It's so true. This, I have to say, for me, like this kind of conversation, this kind of exchange, like this to me has been the gift of 2020, 2021. And, I don't think, I'll just be honest, like I saw your interview. I don't think I would have had like the guts to reach out in 2019. I don't think I would have felt that familiarity or so I think in a way, like us all being in this together creates the opportunity for connection. So
And it
I'm
creates
super grateful.
a lovely sisterhood and a lovely tribe of people that want to connect, that want to chat, that
Yeah.
want to share, that that realize that if this is truly our world and this is truly our planet, then we truly have to be responsible for one another.
Yeah.
Like, and if someone reaches out, you can't always reach out back because your schedule or whatever, but when you can, you do, you know?
Well, I'm
And
grateful. I can't wait to see you in Atlanta or Charlotte or Savannah or Hilton Head.
oh my God, please don't even talk about Hilton Head. That's
I know.
my childhood heart. Every
I know. I knew it. I knew
all
it.
summer long, Hilton Head, we'd go, Singleton Beach, Shelter Cove, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
Um,
That's my happy place I go to in my head. After the lavender bubble bath, I go
yeah,
there.
yeah. Oh, good times for me from Jekyll Island all the way to Hilton Head Island, the Golden Isles, the Sea Islands, everything from Defusky, the whole 9 yards. You mentioned
Mm.
any of that, all I'm gonna do is just glow. It's such a live and alive memory for me, and such a great happy place. Now I'm gonna have to look on my calendar and figure when I can
See
drive
when you
down.
could go. I know.
Yeah,
You have to send me the
exactly.
picture. Well,
Yeah,
thank you
we
so
will.
much. Thank
Yeah.
you for the time. I so appreciate it.